Okay. Welcome everybody to Coffee and Art in the Morning. It's hump day. Oh, I forgot to get out mine. Hang on. Hang on. There it is. Here we go. I always forget. I try to remember. Mike, 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 Mike. So anyway, before I hit record, we were talking about the Society of Idea Collectors, and so really and Jean is the one that came up with that name anyway. So really, all I would like for us to do is be able to collect our ideas. People do not write their ideas down. Write your ideas down, people. Write them down. So before I hit record, we were discussing different formats of how you keep your ideas. So for me, and I'll jump up and down here. For me, I'll write ideas down on Post-it notes, my little travelers, my adorables, and I'll show you all the different places I write down and keep ideas. This is the Mama Jamba. This is my 3-ring binder, and it's like 3 inches thick, and when it gets full, I either get a new notebook, like I did this time. This is a new one. Nothing's in it yet except my tabs and a few things, but nothing's written in it yet. So when this gets full, I'll either get a new notebook and just, put this one aside. I might go back through it and pull some certain and really important things that I'm working on out of it and transfer it to a new one when it gets full. Or I'll take everything out. If I really love the binder, I did this for like 2 segments. I'll take everything out of the binder and just rubber band the papers all together. And store that on my shelf with my journals and ideas and all that. And I kind of know which ones, because when you work in it for so long, you kind of know what's in your books, right? So what I want everyone to do, or if they want to participate, is to collect their ideas. So we were talking before I hit record on the format of how you want to collect your ideas. This is awesome for collecting your ideas at home and or transferring your ideas into it. But it's not portable. I'm not going anywhere with this. I'm not taking this out of the house. So if you don't have something else to collect your ideas in, let me get some of these here. If you don't have something else to collect your ideas in that's more portable, you're not going to collect ideas. You're not going to, if you're at the store and you have an idea about something just pops in your head, or wherever you are, just, whatever, the bookstore, you see a book that sparks something. If you don't have something to write it down right then, or at least take a picture with your phone or something, you're not going to remember that. You're not going to retain that information. You have thousands of ideas every day, but you just probably don't realize it because you're not used to bringing those ideas to the forefront of your brain and really acknowledging them, thinking about them, concentrating on them. So if you don't bring those ideas to paper, you will lose them. I mean, I can guarantee you 100% you will lose all those ideas. Now, you might remember one that's really, I got to read that book and get this idea, and I have this idea for this, whatever, based on that book I saw. You might remember that one thing. But while you are thinking of that one idea, 10, 20, 30 other ideas associated with your big thought will come to you, and you'll say, I got to remember that. I'm going to write that down, and you will not remember it. And pretty much everybody that has written books on ideas, listing, note-taking, doodle note-taking, however you take notes, whether it's in business or just, for your own creative purposes or your own entrepreneurship or whatever, will tell you, you have to write your ideas down. Okay? So I've already shown most of these at some time or another. These are my Adorables. They're like faux Midoris. Sister Woman Jonna made these for me, and I have this is the one that I use the most. You can see I've got paperclip tabs, which we'll get to that later. I have the little buttons that I got the other day. I just stuck some of these on here just to make it decorative. Charms. You can have tabs or tags. So what we were discussing was the format that you will like and enjoy and work in. I like all of them, and I will use all these different idea notebooks and journals, whether it's a Moleskine or whatever, and I will write ideas in them, even the tiny little notebooks, the little composition books. Hang on. Let me grab, where did I put it? Up here. Let me grab one here. The little composition books, like this size, or even just a stack of Post-its. Whatever you write your ideas on, you just have to do it. You have to write your ideas down. So we were discussing what kind of format would be, everybody would probably enjoy, like working in kind of together. And I think that you can do any of this. You can write it in whatever you want, whether it's something like this, whether it's a big binder, whether it's your 3-ring binder, whatever it is, it's fine. So, just know that you don't have to do anything we are doing necessarily, but we're going to work in composition books. So, and then anything that you do in this, and again, if you'd rather work in a Travelers or just a bind, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Here's my thinking on a composition book. For one, it's inexpensive. I got a stack of them for 50 cents at Walmart on the school supply. Target, Staples, whatever. You can get them for under $1, right? So that's one of the things about a composition book. The other thing is it's not intimidating. You're not going to feel like, oh my God, I messed up a page. You're not going to be intimidated by a composition book. The other thing I want to say is there's millions. Look on YouTube and this will give you some more ideas, and you can write them down in your book. Ideas on using a composition book for either journaling, art journaling, doodling, note-taking, decorating. I know I've shown y'all Fluffette before. Let me just pull Fluffette down for a minute. I used this is one composition book. No pages are glued together. This was started out to be an address book 6-7 years ago of all our friends in the box. People, our friends online in Ustream. That's what this started out about. Snick name. I like that, Jean. Snick name. I gotta write that down. I don't know if you meant to say that, Jean, but I love that. Nickname. Okay, so we were just talking about nicknames for the Society of Idea Collectors. So So anyway, here is a composition book that's full. I think there's like 100. Yeah, there is. There's 100 sheets in a book. So this one is filled, and I started a secondary one back when, because this one got full. But just so you can see how much you can get, you can get in a composition book. And again, I'm not the inventor of using composition books for purposes like this. However, I did, use mine. I started it out as an address book, but then I started just decorating them. I just started decorating the double page spreads based on the favorite colors and things of the friends. I also would put pockets I put pockets on them. So there's lots of things we can do to collect ideas and make it decorative and fun. Sickos. These girls are deaf. You're watching this recording. Oh my gosh. These girls are hilarious. So it's a live chat, by the way, on Ustream. Okay, so I'm missing a lot of y'all's comments while I'm trying to do the explaining. So keep all your ideas, write them down, so I don't miss any of them while I'm trying to explain kind of the Society of Idea Collectors where we're going. Okay, so in my big notebook, 3-ring binder, I have it divided out by many different topics. The one being color. Okay, color ideas. Let me just tell you a few. I'm not going to tell you all of them because we'll drag this out for a long time with ideas. But anyway, some of the this is the wrong one here. Hang on. I could probably just do it off of this. Okay, I think I'll just do it off of this list. So some of the different topics that we can idea collect about. One being colors, color combinations, how to use color names, color swatches, all things color. Now, I do have a specific notebook just for colors because I have so much information on that. So I have a mini notebook on colors. That being said, any of the topics that we do can be expanded into more in-depth books, booklets, binders, whatever, depending on your interest. Not everybody is going to be as into one of the topics as others are. You know what I mean? Know what I mean, Vern? So some of you might be more interested in like quotes and if you collect quotes. That's just one mini topic, okay, that you can list and collect things, idea collect. And of course there's millions of quotes. So, let me gather how I want to continue here. So you might have a tab just for your quotes. You might have one for if you love words. I love words. So I have lots of collections on words, word definitions, etymology, a lot of things on words. And also, guys, I'm trying to read some chat too, so I'm kind of like half distracted on the chat. And and so you can have tabs and lists and ideas for any kind of projects developed off your ideas. You can have, okay, well, I do want to, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself, guys. I've got 5 things going at once. I'll save that for just a minute. You also want to make sure that you direct your collecting in the direction of your passions, so that you want to, if it's drawing, you want to kind of focus your list and ideas toward your goals, toward your loves, toward your passions. So if you have one thing that you really particularly want to develop or want more ideas on, or want to know more about, you want to focus any of the ideas that you collect, whether it's on colors, words, quotes, whatever, on those particular things, because you'll move faster along in your goals and your passions if you direct it toward those things. I don't know if that makes sense. Also, I'm looking at some of my notes here from my idea book. You also want to be aware, and this is a little tricky because we all like different things and collect different things and have different kind of supplies and passions. But you want to be aware of how you can use what you have, and if you buy more stuff or supplies, you want to know how you can use those to the fullest capacity. You want to you don't want your stuff just to sit there, go, oh, I love my color pencils, but what do I do with them? I'm coloring in some coloring books. Now, I'm not talking to me, because I use my color pencils like literally every day. But if you have something sitting around, let me look around here and see something I'm not really using that much anymore. Okay, Project Life cards. I have hundreds of Project Life cards. I don't scrapbook anymore. Yeah, I do the occasional thing, frame thing, But I have a lot of things like Project Life cards. Let me hang. Here's some that I just cut, and these are not, when I say Project Life cards, it doesn't have to be the official trademark. I don't mean like Project Life cards. I'm talking about the 3x4 cards that you can get even in your scrapbook pads. You have them in your big 12x12 pads. These are some that I just, if Eileen's here, forgive me, Eileen, there's some flamingos on here. But these were out of that pad that I just got, the $5 bonus, what do they call them? Not bonus buy. Anyway, they're $5. And you get the big, scrapbook pads. And then they have the cut aparts, which are like the 3x4 cards. Okay, so I have all these little cards here that are lined. And they're awesome to write things on. But if I don't use them, what good is it, right? So here's another, you can write this down. You can use things like this to write notes on. Even if you take this little stack with you in your purse or your bag or your pocket, if you have something like this with you, write your notes on it, or, I have my Post-it notes, whatever. This just makes it more fun and decorative. Here's the advantage of doing it on something like this. Okay, go reboot, Valerie. I'm recording, Valerie. If you have something like these with you and you can write your ideas down, whether you're at a bookstore, store, whatever, even if you're just at the craft store and you think, oh my gosh, I have such a good idea for XYZ supply, but I won't get to it anytime soon, write it down. Then when you get home, you can take this card and attach it to that page of new ideas or whatever you tab that particular thing. I have a goal to make this, or this is new ideas, or whatever you want to call your, particular thing, whether it's color combinations. Maybe you're at the paint store and you see, oh my gosh, I love those 3 colors. I'm going to pick up this, the paint chips in those 3 colors, and bam, you put it in your color idea section. Okay, so the advantage of having something like some little cards, even if it's index cards, cut some index cards. You don't even have to cut them. Use their little, what are they, 3 by, I don't know, what size, let me, hang on. Trust me, I got some index cards. If you have your index cards, let's see what size, because I can't remember what size index cards are here. Index cards, which this will even make it more personal for you. Index cards are 3 by 5. So they're 3 by 5. Your little standard Project Life cards are 3 by 4. So whether you use index cards, these you can get 50 cents for 1,000 of them. Not literally, but you know what I mean. You can get a pack of them for nothing. And then you can decorate them yourself too. And keep track of your ideas on index cards. We'll probably use both things. We'll use both things just so that I can show you can use both things. And same thing for Post-it notes. Okay, so again, then you can decorate these yourself. Hey Mac, anybody else popping in? Mine are a little bit from being in the bin over there. I'm just kind of straightening them out. So you can decorate them yourself. All right, for instance, let's see. Let me look over here. Okay, here's one of my little hand carved stamps. This is my little cupcake stamp. Let's see. Let's get some cheap Crayola markers. They're just water-based markers. Let's get a pink one. Let's see if this one's working. Okay, so I'm just going to take one of my little hand-carved stamps. And I don't know how dirty this stamp is from stamping with black ink, so we'll see what happens. And, I mean, if you're a cook, and you like to cook, and, you know, your recipe cards, any of it, guys, you have to personalize your ideas to what your passion is. Not what I love to do, or what, you know, Jean or somebody else loves to do. You have to do what your passion is, and customize your idea collecting for yourself. All right, so let's just say we did that. Let's put a couple of them. Let's do another color. Let me get a baby wipe here. Okay. I just want to wipe this off before I put another color. And dry it a little. And let's do an orange one. And I'll read chat here better shortly, guys. I know I'm missing a lot of your comments. And I want to talk them out so, you know, everybody can hear your great ideas. But I'm trying to lay the foundation for this. All right, so here's an orange one. Okay, so let's just say you love to do any kind of baking or cooking or anything like that, and you wrote your information down at the store. You saw a new cupcake decoration in a window, or at Michael's, or whatever. Your friend made some cool cupcakes. You saw it online. Big one on doing online idea collecting, because sometimes we get the idea, I'm going to play here while we're talking. Sometimes we get the idea that because it's online, that somehow we've collected it. We have that idea now because it's online, so it's not going anywhere. We have Pinterest, we have Instagram, we have, you know, all these ideas are there, and we've pinned them, we've kept them, and there's nothing wrong with that. I do it too. Don't get me wrong. Don't email me. But the thing is how often do you really go back to those ideas and use them? Where if you pick and choose the best ideas that you find and collect and write them down, they're more important to you. They become much more important to you when you write things down rather than just collecting them online. Does that make sense? So you want to get in the habit of doing that, because then you're more likely to go back and look at your own ideas that you've collected in a notebook, composition book, traveler's book, whatever book. You're more apt to go and readdress those than you will probably a Pinterest folder that has literally 1,000 things in it, right? So even if you're just doing a composition book and you don't go any further to transfer those ideas into a binder or, you know, more, you know, advanced idea collecting, even if it's just this, which also this is portable, you're more likely to use those ideas. Yeah, and again, Max talking about printing things out. You can print out things if you don't, and sometimes that may be more convenient. Let's just say it's a recipe. You find a recipe online, it's going to be more convenient and quicker just to print that recipe out, but then put it in a book. I mean, unless you're a big time cook and you have your whole, you have a recipe book or recipe cards, or you have your own format of collecting. That's where you've already focused your goals on your cooking. So you already have something developed to collect that particular important passion yourself. So you probably already have a binder, a cookbook, some kind of, index, recipe cards. You may have already decorated. You may already have a cookbook you've decorated. So you've already developed your idea collecting for that particular passion. You see? But let's just say you're out and about and you're at the bookstore and you see a stack out of new cookbooks and new cookbook, blank cookbook things where you write your own recipes down. Either take a picture of it with your phone or pull out a card and write your favorite ones down, write the author's name down, the ISB, whatever, or take a picture, either way. But the thing is to collect that idea and then put it in something where it's not just a bunch of cards floating around in your purse, because you won't go back to it. If you have something, whether it's like this or your travelers or something, to put that stuff in. And I know that, guys, none of this stuff is new. None of it's new. It's just I think we have so many great ideas, we just don't use them because there's so many of them. And by focusing on the important ones for you, whatever that passion is, and collecting the ideas on your own passions and writing, see, that's the whole point of all this. The whole point of all this Society of Idea Collectors is you have to collect it. So how do you collect it? You either print it out or write it. And again, I understand that a lot of people say, well, I got it all online. I have it all organized on my Pinterest folders. Nothing wrong with that. But pick out those important ones, the ones you feel like you're really going to use. Because just as sure as I'm sitting here and you're sitting here, you will never, ever, 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 ever use every idea that Pinterest shows you. Let's just be honest. You're never going to use every idea you find online. And I'm just using Pinterest as an example. It can be anything. Instagram, YouTube, whatever. You've got to narrow your focus to a few important things. And again, I never tell anybody, oh, don't do that. Don't do this. You got too many things going on. You can have 1,000 things going on as long as you're keeping track of it. Because if they're just all floating out there, I have 500 wonderful ideas online that I want to do someday. They're all floating around in your head. Oh yeah, someday I want to get that color book. Someday I want to do an illustration. Someday I want to write those quotes down in a pretty book. Someday I want to whatever. They're just all floating out there in your head. The other benefit of writing things down is they're out of your head. So your mind is free to collect new ideas. So it's like you're downloading it to your hard drive here, and then your temporary memory is freed up to gather more, and then you can download it onto your hard drive. You see? Yeah, the little bits of paper in your pocket. Yeah. So if you take those, if you're out and about and you write down 2 or 3 ideas or a few things, you come home, even if you just take your list and you open it to that topic, let's just say it's a new cupcake decoration, open it up to your passion, put it down, take some washi tape, and stick that baby down. Now it's something. It's something. Whereas if it's just in your head with a picture of a cupcake and pink sprinkles and whatever, it's not really an idea. Hang on, guys. Hang on. Hang on. Let me, just a minute, guys. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry guys, I had to go check that out. A car was driving from house to house and stopping, and if y'all remember, a couple weeks ago, someone stole my mail and hacked my account. So when I see someone going house to house to house, so catch my breath because I ran out to the curb. I went out there and just like stared at the car so they knew that somebody's watching them. Neighborhood watch. So now I gotta catch my breath. I don't know what they're doing, but they're going from house to house and just stopping and stopping. So I don't know what they're doing, but they know somebody sees them. Okay, so I need an idea about keeping track of your mind. Hi, Prisma. Okay, so let me just catch my breath. Because like I said, I ran out to the curb, ran back. Nah, Susan. Okay. So, where were we? Okay, so index cards. So if you don't have any of the little pretty decorative cards, you know, you can use index cards and decorate them yourself, right? Always go with a piece of paper and pencil. Exactly. Oh, yeah. Well, I ran out there so fast, Jean, I didn't even think to do that, but yeah. So maybe we could, you know, the index cards have lines. You could put your own pretty, and again, these are just Crayola, Super Tip markers that you get in the kids department. You can get like 50 colors and they're normally like $10. You can get them cheaper at Walmart. Use a coupon at Michael's and get them for $5. You know? So I'm just doodling here, guys, while we're talking. Let's see. Make some little bullet journaling. Little note. I love lists, y'all. So anyway. So, you know, just something as simple as an index card. If you have a few of these with you, and you don't have to decorate them ahead of time. Just have some with you. And if you have them with you, then after you write your notes, then you can come home and put some decorations on it. Go to that tab, take your washi tape, or just a glue stick, you know, and you got your notes, right? Okay, so let me catch my breath and see if y'all have any questions, because I got tons more stuff to talk about. And this is going to be its own section on the Society of Idea Collectors. We got to come up with a SNCC name. Yeah, you associate bullet journaling with work. Okay, so I'm going to just take a second, catch my breath, and look at the chat. You can get some bad lip reading. Wasn't that hilarious? That was so funny. I posted something on Facebook. It was bad lip reading. It was a Star Wars thing posted. It was hilarious. Anyway, neither here nor there. You have hundreds of index cards left from school. Exactly. So, that, to me, that's the easiest. This is the easiest way. Even if you have 4 or 5, this is, and you have blanks. The thing is if you have a sketch or a doodle, you can use the back side. So you also, idea enablers. Oh, I like that, Stephanie. Yes, I do. Idea enablers. I like that. That's a good SNCC name. Good one, Steffi. This one's Jean. I try to write down who says that, kind of like when we put them in the Wingnut book. Okay, so I'm trying to keep reading chat, guys. If you're watching this recording, it's a little tricky to try to write, read, and think. We're working on it. Oh, so anyway, so the back of the index cards are blank. So if you'd rather do sketching rather than just writing, or do a combination of both, always make sure you have some kind of pen with you. Now, when we're here on the show, I usually write with the big, thick Sharpie just so it shows up on camera. But in reality, I write very tiny. Like, this is how I write. This is how I would be taking my own notes, but you can't see that, so that's why I write with big, thick Sharpies here. Hey, Mel G, anybody else popping in? So let's just say you were at, you just had, all you had was, a Sharpie with you, and you come across, I'm using cupcakes for our example, and you saw the sprinkles, and you thought, oh my gosh, these are glitter sprinkles. Where did they get glitter sprinkles? Do they sell them here? Or maybe you came up with the idea. Maybe you saw some cupcake and you went, wouldn't that be great with glitter sprinkles? Is there such a thing? Is there? Where? Check. Let's just say you have a friend that's a baker. Let's just say, I don't know, Stephanie bakes. Check with Steffi. She's a cupcake baker. You see where we're going with this? You smell I'm stepping in, as Denise would say. So you write down all your ideas. Now this brings me to the point of, here, I pulled this out here out of one of my travelers. I pulled this out. Don't forget your questions. Remember our mind mapping with the who, what, where, when, why, and how? This little chart should be at the front. And I got sun. Hang on now. I've got to put my blackboard up because the sun's coming in so bright. Let's just block the sun. Okay, so where was I? Oh. The dessert enabler. And I don't even cook or bake. That was just an idea because I had my cupcake stamp here. Dorothy said she was got out of her car and heard a car alarm. She was looking around to see whose car alarm it was hers. I told you, Dorothy, I told y'all my rabbit trail. I told y'all my roller skating story. Back when I was like, 12, 13, you know, I was big into roller skating. That was a thing. Roller skating rinks, you have loud music. And well, anyway, me and my friends, we were good. We could do all kinds of swirls and tricks and races, and we were really good at our roller. We were proud. We were very proud of our roller skating abilities. So one day, we were all, looking real cool and, going around the ring, and all of a sudden I saw somebody's wheel go rolling right past me. And I went, oh my gosh, look, ha 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 ha, somebody lost a wheel. Bam! It was mine. So I totally get that on the car alarm, Dot. Okay, so let's get back on track. So you should have, and I'm going to put it in here too, but you should have, and the topic can be anything. I just wrote topic in there. But you should have this should be on your mind all the time. This needs to be in your idea collecting. The forefront of your mind is questions. Questions. Okay? Wheel skills. Yeah. That was, Prisma said something about my wheel skills. That was in my wheelhouse. That's something that I have in my wheelhouse. Okay, you guys, you gotta stop. We're not getting anywhere. Okay, Terry. Be careful. Don't overdo. I mean, I think you might be done painting, but I know when you move into a new house how much work it is. So, yeah. Okay. So your questions. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. And I know we've done this a zillion times. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. Let's go back to the glitter sprinkles for an example. So let's just say the topic is there such a thing as glitter sprinkles? And there probably is, guys. I just don't know. I don't bake. I don't cook. I could ask Annie. She would know. But let's just say that we thought of it. Okay. So first thing is you go through these questions with that. I know, Terry. Okay. Oh, brother, Muse. Muse says, you picked a fine time to leave me, loose wheel. That has to go in the Wingnut book. Hang on, guys. Sorry, we have a lot of rabbit trails here. This is why we have so many ideas. Muse on my roller skate wheel loss. Wing that book. Okay, so back to the glitter sprinkles. My eyes are watering now. So first we would, is there such a thing? Is there such a thing? What? Is there such a thing? Is there already? Now, everybody's going to be leaving me comments on links to glitter sprinkles. Is there already a thing? Where? Where would, who sells it? Who sells it? Or maybe that you don't have that. Maybe there is no such a thing. Maybe that who will be you. Dee Dee was trying to come up with rollerblades. Oh no, I tried rollerblades. I couldn't do it. I bought rollerblades. Well, Hubster bought them for me for my birthday, my 50th birthday. Rollerblades, and this was, a few years ago. Bought me some rollerblades for my 50th birthday. I held on to him while he dragged me around the neighborhood. And my ankles just were not up for rollerblades. They were purple too, so I ended up giving, this was, quite a few, Cam was, in elementary school, I guess, still. And so I ended up giving them to Cam, purple rollerblades. And he wore those things out. And finally I told Cam one day, I said, Cam, do we need to get you some new rollerblades? Because, that's great exercise, and it gets you out of the house, and it's just awesome exercise. He goes, Nana, that's not my exercise, it's my transportation. That was back when he was like, elementary school. Okay. So, when did they come out? And so anyway, you ask all these questions that are pertinent to whatever the topic is. You can even go, depending on how involved you are with baking, you might even want to do more, information gathering, depending on how important that is to you. It may not be important to you that much. You just may want to say, oh, glitter sprinkles, are they out there? Where do I get them? That may be all you want to know, because you just want to use them on your kids' cupcakes next whenever. But if it's something that you want to develop into, oh my gosh, there's no such thing as glitter sprinkles. I need to really come up with something. I have the skills to do that. Or if I don't have the skills, what do I need to do to get the skills? How do I go ahead and do that? What information do I need to make those glitter sprinkles? You see where I'm going? Hey, Teresa. So all this just based on, a little card that you collected. But this right here, you may not get to that right away. You already may have 20 other ideas rolling around in your idea book. So you want to just keep your ideas in your book. Now, granted, we're going to decorate this. Y'all know us. We're not going to have no plain composition book. But this is how you do it. All right, so any questions so far? Because I know I've got pages and pages of stuff here, including this. I pulled this one out because I want to show y'all on the colors. So I pulled that out of my Travelers. And we're going to probably end up doing it in composition books, because it's just everybody has one. And the other thing about composition books, they're cheap. And so as you fill them, and you don't have to decorate them to the fullest capacity that we all know we can do. It can just be as simple as this. You could tab it. You could have, like, let's just say baking ideas. You can have a tab for cooking, baking. You can have a tab for words, quotes, or definitions. You can have your color tab and just go slam things in it. Just slam your ideas into it without it being really decorative. But, we like to decorate. Oh my gosh, you girls are still on the wheels. Did you get your wheel back? Oh, well, I had to, because I wouldn't have been able to skate after that. Well, and at the time, it could have been the rent-a skates too. I don't remember if at that time I had my own skates, or if it was just the skates that you get at the roller rink. I don't remember, but I know I fell. Oh, AT&T. Okay, so I think that's what we're going to settle on. We'll settle on a composition book just for the idea collecting. And again, if you want to do more if you're more apt to use one of, like, this is just the Michaels brand faux leather, if you're more apt to use something like this, then do that. I just think that I'm going to show things in a composition book because everybody can get this or something similar. Everybody can get a composition book where everybody may not be able to either get or afford or want a faux dory, adorable Travelers type thing. Although you can make all these inserts yourself. All it is folded cardstock with a cover a scrapbook cover and some, we've even made them with rubber bands. How many of these have we made with rubber bands? But you can get the elastic, the decorative string elastic and cording and stuff like that, and make your own. So whether you want to do something like that, which we've made multiples of these, or if you want to have something like this, or even if it's better for you just to have a small composition book in your purse, and then write your ideas down in this, transfer them to a bigger notebook, your big binder, or if you just want to collect your ideas in something like this. It's really, guys, it's not important how in what format you collect them, even if it's just some index cards. It doesn't matter. The point is to collect them, but you need some way to have them organized in some format, whether even if you just use your index cards in an index box, whatever works for you. But you have to be able to access those ideas. That's why I'm saying tabs. We'll do some decorative tabs and things on here. We can do our little paper clips or whatever to make it fun and decorative, and we're using it. Because I know a lot of people, you have a bunch of ugly index cards with just some handwritten notes, and you just stick them on, you're not appealed enough. You're not drawn back to them enough. Whereas if they're pretty or decorative, you're going to be more apt to go back to them. You're filling composition books and gluing them together. Well, even if you just have them on a shelf, and trust me, they'll accumulate quickly. After you've done a few just collecting ideas in a composition book, you're going to say, oh, I need a whole book on just color. So here's, like, I have this little notebook here. This is my color. This is my color notebook, just on color. So, it's whatever you're going to use. That's why I have my big 3-ring binder for so many lists and notes tabbed out, tabs or dividers, some kind of either dividers or tabs, whatever works for you. In this case, you'd want to put, tabs. But if you have a 3-ring binder, then you can have dividers, whether the thin ones or full ones that stick out on the side, just so you have it organized in some way so that you'll go back and use it. And if you keep this handy or close, or keep something handy or close, or your little, if you have tons of Project Life cards that you're not using in any kind of Project Life anymore, or these are the ones that are cut apart out of these are the ones cut apart out of scrapbook stacks. Whatever means you have of writing them down, you need to do that, because you will lose, those ideas will be gone. I've shown the color notebook before. I'll do it again later. I don't want to do it right now because I'm already sidetracked 5 ways to Sunday. So something like this. And again, guys, what I'm telling you here, it's somebody has said it before. I'm not the first person to tell you to write down your ideas, and I probably could, and I have. Last 2 weeks ago, I pulled out about 10 different books on ideas. The newest one that we got, and everybody ordered it. Everybody ordered this one, Journal Sparks. Again, this one's more on journaling, particular topics, but it's got all kinds of ways to list. And we pulled this one out a couple weeks ago. I bought this at Books A Million, and everybody went on Amazon and got it. So, well, my point is there are thousands, well, I don't know about thousands, hundreds probably, of books out there on idea collecting. This one, and I should probably review this one. This one right here. I should probably review this one because I got it some couple years ago, and I haven't gone back to it. This is called The Doodle Revolution, Sunny Brown, and this is on collecting or doodling your ideas, particularly in business. So if you're at work and you have business idea, you're in an office where you have to generate ideas or you're in meetings and you're taking notes. This is very in-depth and very geared toward collecting, your notes and ideas in business format, where you need to use it in a particular job situation. And again, I haven't looked at this for a while. Let's see, when did this come out? Because I got it and it wasn't cheap either. This was in the business section, 2014. So 3 years ago. I got it when it first came out, and it's like $30. It may be cheaper. It may be in soft cover now. I have about 10 ideas. Yeah, I know. Lindsay, and see, that's the thing. Lindsay said I have about 10 idea notebooks, and she uses them regularly. That's the key. I have about 10 as well, and I use them. But if you know that that's going to overwhelm you and have composition books, little books, notebooks, binders, travelers, if you got too many and it's just totally it's overwhelming you and you won't use them, then narrow it down to one or two. Want something to carry with you, whether it's any of this, something to carry with you, and then something more permanent. Again, I have a 3-ring binder, my big binders. So narrow it down to a couple, something portable and something that you don't take out of your house, like I showed this earlier. Here's my big 3-ring binder. I got a new one, school time. I got me a new binder at Staples. It's a 3-inch thick, big, heavy, full binder here, ready to go. Because I cleaned out the other one. Well, I just pulled what I wanted out of it. So I'm starting a new one. But I'm not taking this anywhere. I couldn't even fit this in a backpack. So... be realistic about your ideas too. So anyway, this one, I found this in the business section, not in the art section, not in the personal growth section. This was in the business section like 3 years ago. And it may be in soft cover now and cheaper. But it's like $30 back then. Okay, so let's see now where I want to go from this. Yeah, and it does keep your brain active for sure, Lindsay, for sure. So there's just some ideas to start with, how to what to gather your information on. And again, if you're working in a book like this, and we all have tons of stuff like this is where you need to have a book handy or something to write your notes on. So when you're reading this and you get some ideas, either put them on an index card that has a blank side in the back and you can doodle, or you can have the other side where you can write, or both. And then have some place to collect those ideas. So especially when you're reading. I love to annotate books. So when I'm reading, I almost always have a pen, a notebook. At the minimum I'll have is a Post-it note stack. I have pens and Post-it notes by my bed. I have a notebook on my on my dresser. I have all the books I'm reading there. And so with a notebook, a reading notebook. So when I'm taking notes just on my reading, and I usually read 2 or 3 books at a time. So I'll have a Moleskine or some kind of a book, even if you just use a composition book, whatever you want to use, so that even if you're reading fiction, ideas will come to you when you're reading. If you're reading the Sunday comics, you'll have ideas come to you. But we're so used to, because we have information overload, we're so used to just, delete. We're just so used to either pushing aside those ideas or ignoring them. We don't take the time to glean from those ideas. And the only way you will be able to do that consistently and to make a difference is if you write them down. Let's just, you're reading a fiction book, you come across a word, you might be able to read it in context and say, oh, I know what that means in context, but that's a new word I haven't seen. What does that mean? You know, make a note. Look up this word. You don't have to do it right then, but if you write it down, on a Post-it note, you'll just write the word down. Because I love words. I love the history of words, the etymology, the definitions, the contrasting them. I just love everything about words. So, hi Abby girl. So there's just a start for using a composition book. And we've already talked an hour just on that. And I haven't even got past the who, what, where, why, when, and how. So, but what I would say is let's just play for a minute. Let's take a breath. Let's take a breath. And again, the decorating part of it is going to be totally up to what you like. Do you like markers? Do you like pencils? Do you like just, doodling, black and white? Whatever it is that you like. Oh, and I pulled back out one of those little hearts that we did the magicals yesterday. There's just anything can turn into an idea or a decoration. Okay, so we have our stamps. You can, I don't even need to tell you how to decorate your book. I'll show you what I'm going to do, but y'all have done enough art journaling and all this. That's nothing's going to really be new to you. It's just all going to be in how you approach it and what makes you happy. So, let's just get some markers here. Maybe I want a brighter pink. Is that my brightest pink? It might be my brightest pink. And let's see, I'll just go with these for now. Let's destroy the perfect book. And again, I'm going to make tabs. As I'm not going to do it right now, but I want to try to do at least one. I want to do at least one Society of Idea Collectors show a week. And maybe it'll be more. I'll try to make sure that I note that in the video when we do something with the Idea Society, Society of Idea Collectors. And again, right now it's very, very basic because we're just starting it, But as we go on, I want to do more mind mapping. I want to do more combining lists. We've done a bit of that already in our sketchbook, where we've made our different lists and we cross combined a who, what, where, a person, place, and thing, and a color. And we will combine mixed lists with a random color and do a design or a doodle or something out of that. Oh, what do you suggest for the topics for that's what I'm talking about right now, Sharon. Start with, and again, so much of it's going to be personal to you. I will have, let me just start here. We will at least have color and lists. Now, these lists can be broken out into many other tabs. Okay, so just be aware. This is very general here. Questions. I like words and quotes. So I will have word things on words. Whether you do words and quotes or have two different ones. This is, again, guys, mine are very more broken out than this. This is just the very basic. So under questions, see, I also have mind maps. So that can either be with your questions or separate. Let me just tell you a couple others. I have sections on symbology and glyphs, but that's me. So symbology, and glyphs. and that comes under my history tab. So I have things broke out but that's my interest. This right here may not be your interest at all. So you may not even have a tab for that. I don't have a baking, cooking tab. I have nothing about cooking and baking and recipes. Nothing. I have no tabs on that. I don't keep tabs on cooking. So again, some of this stuff is going to be dependent on your interests. Okay? Oh, you've never done this before? Okay, Kiki. And all of this, guys, again, I'm not saying I'm inventing anything new. There's thousands of mind mapping, listing, using composition books, art, all of it. This is just my way of idea collecting. And I thought that I feel so passionate about it. I really feel passionate. That's why I always tell you, my videos, I'm not a teacher. I'm an encourager and an idea sharer. I love to share ideas and encourage people to develop their own ideas and projects and passions. And if while I'm showing you something I do, whether it's in a color book and the different techniques and pencils and shading and if you get ideas from that, awesome. You know, I don't bake, I don't cook. Yes, I can tell you how to make a good grilled cheese. And I'm not saying I don't ever cook. I cook all the time. Do I love it? Is it my passion? Absolutely not. Do I bake? Yeah, if it comes in a tube and I can slice those cookies. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I had no tab for a sparkle sprinkle cupcake. Exactly. But again, I'm trying to get you guys to keep track of your ideas, whether it's in list form, you know, if it's in your bullet journaling, if it's in sketches, doodles, whether it's on Post-it notes, a big 3-ring binder. I cannot stress, if there's one thing I would want everybody to know, you will forget your ideas if you don't write them down. That's it. That would be my motto. You will lose ideas if you don't write them down. How you write them, how you catalog them, how you categorize them is totally dependent on your passions and your creativity and your supplies you like to use and all that. Okay, so I also have tabs for, this is just one of my random sheets I pulled out of the Travelers just to show y'all something. I also have different tabs on my, like what I do. So I do a lot of color pencil, as you know. I do color pencil portraits. I do people, and I do pets. Okay, so this is something I will have more notes on than some of you. If you are, you know, depending on what, I just started using alcohol markers. However, if you are a Copic alcohol marker connoisseur, you will have a marker notes section because you use it all the time. So again, you can also have tabs and ideas particular to your supply or your medium. You will have specific tabs depending on, you like my sliced cookies? Yeah. Depending on your passion, your medium, whether it's markers, pencils. Jean will have probably, and I know Jean doesn't, she has everything digital, her notes. And anyway, watercolor. So if you are learning watercolor, and Jean does this even, and probably a lot of y'all do this kind of thing without even thinking about it. If you swatch, that's an idea you're writing down. You're just writing it down in color swatch format. So you can swatch, and I do recommend this. I would put, for me personally, this would go under my color tab or color notebook, depending on how advanced and how involved you want to be. But under your color tab, I would recommend, and if you want something to do for the next week, start you some tabs, and they don't have to be in any kind of order in a composition book. If you think you're going to be really involved, like Jean in watercolor, you might want a whole composition book just on watercolor. If you know you're going to be that involved in that medium, you may want a whole composition book on just watercolor. You see, but in the meantime, I would at least recommend, if you're not sure where you want to go with your mediums, so I would recommend swatching all of them. Your pencils, your watercolor, your markers, your, say, watercolor markers, your watercolor pencils. And by markers, that could mean your Copics, your Hoo-Hoos, your Crayola. You see how much things you can get just off of your supplies. Your acrylic paints. I'm just looking around thinking of what else you could swatch. You know, whatever your supplies are. I would recommend swatching them. Now, do you have to put them in here? No. If you're not sure how much room it's going to take, this is what I would recommend. Swatch them on a separate sheet of paper or cardstock or whatever, and then tape those swatches into your book. Don't ever be afraid to take your book and just, let's just say this, even if you never wrote in the book ever, and all you had was pages and pages of taped in ideas, you know what I'm saying? Then good. And all right, so Valerie's becoming interested in DigiArt. You know, that's a big project. I personally would love to be a Photoshop expert. I love Digi. I love everything you can do with it. But for me, myself, and I know when I get into something that I want to learn, I want to do it 100%. I never try to learn anything partially. And right now, I'm just now getting into alcohol markers, you know, in more of a in-depth way. I just know myself, I don't have the time to dedicate to learning Digi in the way I would like. So in the meantime, I dabble, you know, I do a little dabbling here and there. And for me, that's fine for now. Someday, when I'm old, that's what I told Eileen, when I'm old, Eileen, I want you to teach me Digi. Okay, so let me go back to some of my other topics here just to get you guys started. This right here, just color swatching all your supplies could take you a month, depending on how much. I have a swatch color binder, Jane. I have a binder with all my color and swatching in. But right now, guys, I'm just trying to give you the basics of just doing something like this. If you've never done idea collecting, and again, this is the Society of Idea Collectors. Your collections will vary considerably from your other companions. See, now that, you know what that made me just think of right there? I want to get out my thesaurus and I want to. Other words for companions. Companions. Friends. Let's spell friends right. And I want to now see, that made me want to make a list of other words that that mean friends and companions. See, so that will be a little project for me, because I want to do that. And if you're a writer, all this will apply to you as a writer. If you're not an artist, if you're just a writer, or maybe you're a writer and an artist, maybe you're an illustrator and a writer. All these kind of things, you've probably, if you're a writer, you're already doing probably most of this. So Button said, her great-grandmother's recipes are just taped on note cards or newspaper clippings. See, now that needs its own book button because that's an heirloom. That's an heirloom from your great-grandmother. You know, that's a whole nother, that's a big project. That could be a passion. You might want to start making lists of how you want to go about that. Do you want it in a book? Do you want it in a recipe box? Do you want it in different ways to do that? But you're going to want to think, I want it preserved? Do I want some of her own handwriting? Do I want copies? Do I want originals? All that, Okay, so let's get back to some of the lists. So again, like I have things on history. I love history. I love archaeology. So I have my own studies, my own tabs, my own books, my own lists, my own writings, my own notes, all on different history broken out. I just did symbology and glyphs just to give you one breakdown. I like to break history out into eras, centuries, decades. And I haven't pulled this out for a long time, so don't make me do it. But in one of my closet, I have a time chart list thing where I made a huge, you don't see me roll paper out down the driveway, huge rolls of paper. I have a huge roll that I could roll out down my driveway of my own history chart. Now, I haven't pulled that baby out in some time, but yeah. I'd rather do it in a notebook. Because it's just not practical carrying that big scroll under my arm. Write them down, Shalene. Okay, so let's say, again, I'm big on words. So I have word studies, word etymology, history of words, definition, broke out, yeah. So that's big for me. But you may not care as much about it as I do, so you're not going to have as much interest in tabbing out your definitions, words, and word history, or history. You see, at least also have a tab for your projects. Now you don't have to call it projects. You could call it your passions. You could call it your passions, but something. Have some kind of a tab where these are my ideas in use. Let's put it that way. Ideas in use. Or putting these ideas to use. Because ultimately that's the goal. Into practicality, to use. Let's just put to use. Putting these ideas to use. So the Society of Idea Collectors, we not only want to collect our ideas, we want to use those ideas, right? It's an heirloom you inherited when your Nana does. She added some stuff as well. Well, make sure at least button, make sure that it's, and I know you know this, have your have those on acid-free kind of paper. If it's an heirloom, handwritten things, letters and cards or something like that. I had tons from my mother-in-law and from my mom did too. And I made I don't know if she's done every one, but those old photo albums with the plastic that you go and you pull the plastic up and you stick it down on a gluey sheet and you put the plastic back over it. Yeah, go check those out sometime. See how well those photos are holding up just from maybe even 25 to 30, 40 years ago. You'll be lucky if any of those photos are still good. Just saying. And I know you guys know that stuff hanging around, Yeah, current journals and use. That is a good point, Beth. And I do have a list here of all my journals. So journal types. Here's just my list that I made quickly for you guys. Journal types. So let's just talk about that for a minute. Now, again, this is going to depend on how well you can maneuver between multiple journals and multiple notebooks and multiple, formats. Okay? I can do it, and I think Lindsay Whimsy said too, she has about 10. I can do it because I've done it for so long and have so many different journals and moles, and I know how I collect things. I collect certain things in just notebooks with no drawings. Of course, I have my, collage, mixed media, art journals. I have those, which can be collecting ideas as well. But when you do those other kinds of journals, like your collage journals, your mixed media, your altered books, and I'll go through my list here in a second. And if y'all want to write them down, get a piece of paper. All right, let's just put it this way. If you don't have a piece of paper with you right now, then I don't know about you being in the Society of Idea Collectors. Yes, I do. I have the Professor and the Madman. Yes, I have the history of the Oxford Dictionary. Yes. Oh, I love books on the history of things. The history of, like, the compass, the tea, how tea came to around the world. And these are just the ones coming to my mind. Those are some of my favorite books, Valerie. Some of my favorite books are the history of things. Whether, like I've just read a few years ago on pi, on the mathematical, Fermat's Enigma. Some of them they're just coming. I love that kind of book. I love it. I love that kind of stuff. Well, see, you Victoria, you probably need I have a whole notebook. I have journals, whether they're in Moleskines or whether they're in the grid. Those what people now use for. They're the graph paper type of. Those red, they're usually red, blue, black. You get them for about $10 at Barnes & Noble. I forget what they're called. I just lost my hair clip thing. Where'd it go? Fell on my back or something. Those kind of journals for symbology, glyphs. I have one on Hebrew lettering, all what Hebrew letters mean. I was real, and I still do, not as much, but what words mean, origins of words, where they came from, the history of language. I love all of that. So anyway, what I'm saying is if you really want to do things like that, you almost have to have a dedicated notebook of some form to learning that kind of thing. But in the meantime, write it in a composition book or whatever format we talked about earlier, whatever format works for you. Write that idea down. What kind of notebook would I need to study hieroglyphs? What kind of notebook would I need to study symbology? Whatever it is. Start taking a page of notes just on how to study it, if that's something that interests you. Okay, so let's go back to the different types of journal types. Okay, so journal types. I'm not going to write them down. I'm just going to read the ones I wrote down here for you guys. Okay, and there's plenty more. Yeah, Moleskine, moles, moleskins, whatever everybody wants to call them. I looked it up because, of course, I want to know. I looked up the Moleskine site and how they pronounce it, and that's how they pronounce it. And I did the audio, all of it. It's Moleskine. But if you want to call it a moleskin, I don't care. But for me personally, I wanted to know. All right, so here we go. These are some of the types of journals and sketchbooks and things like that. And again, these can be broken out multiple ways. Just because I tell you what it is doesn't mean that's how you're going to use it. So, my preferred method of collecting ideas is 3-ring binders. But again, I will use cards or Post-it notes or whatever to write down quickly ideas and transfer those into the proper tab that I want the information to be stored in. Sometimes, now guys, I gotta say, sometimes I'll write something down. If let's say I'm reading something and I write something down, and then I go, okay, I've done that, or I noted that, then this goes in the trash, right? That's why I go through so many Post-it notes. They're quick. Post-it notes are quick. But again, a small composition book, your little Project Life cards, index cards, which have lines on one side, blank on the other, any of this can be used for those quick ideas, right? Okay, so here we go. 3-ring binder, which is my preferred method of idea collecting. However, that being said, remember, you can still have smaller notebooks, like I showed you my color one, for that when you get enough ideas in a particular topic, it may need its own 3-ring binder and broken out accordingly. You know, just like you would in school. I know some of this, guys, and please don't email me or leave a comment saying, this is a bunch of stupid stuff. We all know this. Just, yeah. We all, we're just putting it together. We're talking about it. We're trying to get inspired to do something here. So don't email me. Okay. You have your hardbound, like for instance my Dylusion sketchbooks. There's stuff like that, and I'm just using Dylusions because that's what I'm using. But whatever kind of hardbound journals, whether they're sketchbooks. So there's the hardbound kind. There's your spiral bound sketchbooks. So these are, and the reason I'm saying them different because I find I use them for different things. I've moved to the hardbound, like Dylusions journals, art journals, for my more permanent type of art, like my mixed media collage. Those, I spend many hours, as y'all know, I do them here. I spend a lot of work on those, and I don't want them on just a piece of copy paper. Right, so I'm doing them more of a heavy duty paper, which that's why I like the Dylusions. The composition books, like what we're going to do, and again, if you missed it, let me show you Fluffette again. It can be anything. It can be anything to something this fluffy, and I call her Fluffette. This is all the fibs at the time, 6 years ago, that I had 100, I think 150 because I started a second one. Fibs, Friends in the Box at the time, and I did a double-page spread for everyone with their favorite color. I was going to make it into an address book, but it became too unwieldy to look up people's addresses. It was taking too long to go, where's Jean's address? It's just taking too long. So now I have addresses in a Rolodex. But anyway, this is what this started. So this is how fluffy, and I know I'm really zoomed in here, but this is how fluffy you can get your composition books. And if this is just something you're going to sit at home and use, this will work. So I handmade all the tabs with everybody's names. I'll probably do handmade tabs again for this book just because I have a Cameo silhouette. I can cut out my tabs. I have tons of tabs, pre-made tabs. But I thought, well, I'll just make them so that everybody that doesn't have the machine, doesn't have the means to buy tabs, I'll show you how to make some tabs. I didn't invent putting tabs on a composition book. So don't email me and say, so-and-so already did that 10 years ago. I know. We have all been around YouTube and the internet, 30 years. So don't email me and say, somebody already put tabs on a composition book. And somebody will email me and tell me that. Anyway, so just saying. Okay, so back to the journal types. Okay, sorry, bumped the camera. So there's your composition books, which you can use like what we're going to do for idea collecting. But as you know, glue books. How many of us have done glue books and composition books? I have. I got tons of them. You probably do too. So again, you can cross over your different mediums that you have done. For instance, if you love doing glue books and composition books, get you a, where's this flower thing I cut out here? Oh, here's my little heart here. Let's just say, you know, I cut this out of a magazine or whatever. This is just one we made yesterday. Glue it in. Use this as an idea book, but if you want to use it as a glue book to decorate, if you want to use your washi tapes, all of your journaling supplies, but the most important part I want to get across, no matter how you decide to decorate, the most important thing is the ideas. I don't care if you scribble them, doodle them, draw them, write them, stamp them, whatever. Please, 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 please write down your ideas. All right, some more journal types. So again, composition, whether you use it like I did for an address book, a glue book, multiple purposes for composition books, different sizes. I might use one for an idea book. They're small like that. Or, let me come back up here. Y'all seen me do my little leftover paint bits. So I'll scrape bits of paint or glue if I'm doing, and I do collage, so I have lots of bits of collage. But if I have a little bit of something left over, I'll just slap it in one of these little books. And sometime I might go back and scrape leftover paint. But, you know, so little composition books can be good for just using up leftovers. So these are kind of like your leftover books. I call them desk journals. Where's my lid? Oh, here. Okay, so let me go back to, I got pages and pages here of ideas for you guys. And we're already getting into almost 2 hours. Yeah, Prisma. Okay, so so again, then you got your mixed media, your collage, your sketchbooks. Now these are just the kind I have. You may have other ones too, just because that's the nature of the beast, right? Altered books. I've been doing the altered book collage, mixed media, altered books, but you may have altered books more like my magazine journals. So I have my magazine journals that are glued together magazines and or cut in half magazines that we call our playground. And those are the tiny ones like this. Again, this is a form of idea collecting, but it's in more of a visual format. However, when we did this one, I told you you can also collect your ideas in here. You can have pages in here that you'll write on or doodle on or collect your ideas on. I'll do that to some extent, but I have so many ideas. This is not extensive enough for me, but it may be extensive enough for you. So if you'd rather have more fun working in this playground, there's some videos on this. If you'll have more fun working in this kind of a idea collecting, then do it. The important thing is if you won't work in a composition book and you will work in a playground, then go with the playground. The place you keep it is not so important. The important thing is that you keep it. Okay. I know, I'm harping on it. Okay, so let's go back to the different kinds. So you got the sketchbooks, your hardbound and spiral bound, mixed media, or collage, whether it's in magazines, tiny ones, big ones. Okay. I have tons of ideas that have been written on ATC and or cards like this. If you like having ATC type size notes or like recipe card boxes, not recipe, index card boxes, and you will keep your ideas. Yeah, I know, Rebecca, and you do awesome in it. Rebecca works in the mini magazine idea collecting prompt playground. We call it MMICPP. Hashtag. Anyway, that's what we hashtag it on Facebook and on Twitter and Instagram. So anyway, let me show you this one. Now, I don't use this one anymore, but I'm going to show it to you because it could be something you might like. I'll blow the dust off of it. Y'all remember these? Do you remember these little ATC ATC size little spinners? I think Seven Gypsies made these. These are awesome. Something like this, or the recipe box type thing, index card box thing, is awesome for quotes. So if you are a quote gal, you love quotes, you love, that kind of thing. I've got tons of books on quotes. But if you like to collect quotes, something like this, or the little recipe box thing, index card flip through, that's awesome for quotes. Let me show you. Let's see if I can pull this one off the shelf. Hang on, guys. I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember these oversized index card? Well, there were, let me see if I have a blank one in here. Okay, remember these? These chipboard faux, it was in the scrapbooking industry, and we would decorate them with all kinds of little things, clips and ribbons and flowers and leaves, and then you'd have the hard chipboard dividers, index dividers, and then you could put the thinner paper in between. This is awesome and pretty, and you can do your tags. Let me find a blank one here. Your tags, look, this is how old these are, these Daisy D tags. And you tab them, and then you can make all kinds of, if you want your quotes pretty, with your ribbons and your paper clips and your fluff. Where can you collect quotes? Oh, I've got tons of books. Here's where I would start. If you want to collect quotes and you don't have books on them, and you don't, just go online. There are tons of online quote sites, and then you can put in either by author, by the person that you want their famous quotes, or by topic. So you can put in, you want quotes on inspiration. Just go to a quote site and type in topic inspiration, creativity, or anything, and you'll get thousands of them. And then just read them, and that's a nice little relaxing thing. Just go through, read them. But what am I going to tell you to do with them? Write them down. Don't just copy and paste them into, if that's the only way you're going to keep your information is digitally, then copy and paste and put it in a folder. But there's something about, I forget the statistic on it, there's something about reading, writing, and saying. If you, let's just say you wanted to memorize a quote. If you read it, you have a 20% chance of remembering it. If you read it and write it, you have a 60, and again, I don't remember the percentage. You have a 60% chance of remembering it. But if you read it, write it, and say it, you have a 90% chance of remembering it. If you do none of those, the chance that you're going to remember that quote is a big fat zero. Yeah, there's Bartlett's. There's all different ones. And then there's also been ones out for, let me see if I can put my hands on them. The scrapbook industry came out with some that are a quote. Let me see if I can, I'm looking at my shelf, seeing if I can just spot it. But they had quotes and funny kind of quips and sayings for you to put on cards. Here we go. These are kind of fun. Now they're not, there's some famous quotes in there, but they're the Guide to the Perfect Card, and it's got all kinds of humor, memories, and it's got little poems, little quotes. Here's one that says, "Day is done. Gone the sun from the lake, falls from the hills, fall from the sky, all is well." And it's got a little poem. So there's that's for the ultimate card, and then there's the ultimate perfect word. And these, they've been around since the scrap. Well, let me tell you some of the dates here. Let me tell you when they came out. This one was 2004. This one was 2005. And they're like $20. Now they may be cheaper now because I think Bluegrass Publishing, I think there might have been self-published. I don't know. I never had heard of Bluegrass Publishing till these people. $17.99. I think I got them at Archivers back in the day. But they have them in different topics. Like here's baseball. So there's all kinds of little funny sayings, quips, quotes, and just topics. Like here's, a couple pages on baseball. A hot dog at the ballpark is better than a steak at the Ritz. Humphrey Bogart. You see, so there's, some little quotes like that. Baseball is life. The rest is just details from the Sporting News. So there's things like this that are very, kind of general. Yeah, so that's, me too, Valerie. And of course, Pinterest, anywhere. You can find all of it online, guys. But don't leave it online. It doesn't matter where you're gathering your information, whether it's online, Pinterest, Instagram, whatever site you go to, a quote site, Google, whatever. But you got to write it down. I know. I know I harp on that. But the thing is, guys, is, and I show you how to gather unusual compositions and illustrations and ideas for different things. I don't know what to draw, and I give you all lists and how to combine lists and cross lists and add color and different combinations. And then it never fails. And I'm not calling nobody out because, anyway, 3 months down the road, I'll say, okay, well, let's draw. I don't know what to draw. I don't have any clue. I'm not creative. I don't have any creativity. I have no inspiration. I have no creativity. I hear that all the time. And I'll say, well, do you have an idea notebook? We've been talking about that for 7 years. Have you written anything down? Well, no. Hey, don't feel sorry for you. And I really don't. No offense to anybody, but if, don't come to me and say I don't have any ideas after 7 years. All right, moving on. I won't fuss at you. I have those books, Prisma, I got them at Archivers, back when there was Archivers, scrapbook store. Oh, let me give you a little more information in case you do want them. Well, I'm sure you can get them on Amazon. It's the Ultimate Guide to the Perfect Word and the Ultimate Guide to the Perfect Card. Linda Latourelle is the compiler. So I'm sure they're on Amazon. Well, I'm not sure, but, So, yeah. Okay, so back to our list. We're going to have to wrap this segment up here in a minute because I wanted to do something. I don't want this to be more than 2 hours. Okay, so let's see. And that's just this week. We haven't done nothing compared to what I'm on page 2 of my notes. Okay, so some more journaling type things to, file folders. We have shown you multiple times how to make books out of file folders, whether just the 4-fold type or the small mini ones. I'm not going to show right now because if you're interested, I think I have file folder. Me and Packer Dye did I think we did a year worth of, I did the ideas and she did the decorating. We did that. So you can collect ideas in file folders. Even if you just fold them to the extent that they're the size of a traveler's. I don't have, all right, let me go grab one. Hang on. Let me go grab one out of the other room. I'll just bring the whole box. So there was a couple of years. We did this me and Packer Dye did a year together, and then we did, I did a separate year by myself first. And so what it is you take file folders and you fold them up and you turn them into idea collectors. Here is my box. It's an open box. It's kind of like so it stands up. Here are my file folder idea collecting notebooks. Books. So we did this, like for instance, this one was on nature, that one was on food, animals, people, travel, what are the different patterns, things, colors. So we had different, using file folders to collect your ideas. Judy needs a notebook and a trout. Where can she find a trout? I'm going to slap her with a large trout. Okay, so anyway, these are the ones that I think these are the ones that Packer Dye and I did. And then these are the ones that we've done, we did 1 year. Let's see, what year was this? Let's see here. These, let me set this on the floor. So this year that we did this, we made a little, and I kept it plain. I kept it with just the rubber bands. I kept it very non-finished because I want people to see what it's made out of and looked at, or made out of. So this is made out of rubber bands. Essentially, it's just a rubber band book. The cover is made with a Scrabble board, duct tape, and rubber bands, okay? So the rubber bands are broke here. So this year, so what we did with this, and again, this is another way to collect your ideas. If you want to be inspired in a pretty way, hey Pat. So every month, there's 12, every month we would have a topic. This month was, in January, was Discover. So we had ideas, notes, lists, I don't even know what all kinds of things. Then we broke these out into 4 topics for each main topic. So this was 2012. This project was in 2012. Hey, Darken Lady. Style, techniques, color, and purpose. Then the next month was, which was this topic, was curiosity. So February was 2012 was curiosity. Then we broke it out into gathering, exploring, observing, and letting go. And we would collect ideas for that month on little cards. We'd carry a card around with us for a month. Now, this was before I was uploading to YouTube. So these were just back in 2012. I've only been uploading to YouTube for 3 years. So this was back in 2012, right? Then the next month was knowledge, and we broke it out in observe, learn, share, and action. Then we had renew, and see, we decorated the folder. This is just all this is, I'll pull one out here in a minute, is a file folder. Folded up and turned into little booklets with pockets, right? So renew had organize, outside, order, and overhaul. And each one of these had different things. So then we had one on me and thee. And we would do who, what, where, why, when, and how on me. And then we did who, what, where, why, when, and how on thee. And it just sounded good together, me and thee. It's really just about me and you, you know. So we had different topics and cards on that. Then we had accomplish, and the 4 topics is 1 a week. So the 4 topics for the month of June under the topic of accomplish was past, present, that 2012, and the future. July was rabbit trails. We had the web, YouTube, books, and life. It was about gathering information. Then we had dreams, and under dreams we had do, be, have, and give. Then under October, I think this is the next month, what was the topic? Forget what poison was the topic. Things that are poison. I don't mean like literally eating poison, but things that are toxic. We had excuses, gripes, procrastination, and then we had, here it was. This is the 4 things. We had excuses, gripes, complaints, and whine, and then procrastination. Then we had things that were important. That was oh no, then the next month was important. Personal, family, community, and the world. Then looking ahead, that was December, looking ahead to 2013, and then we broke it up into four segments of 3 months each. So yeah, so this was our little year for 2012. The reason I'm showing you this is because this is another way to gather your ideas. So let me just show you, let me take one of the folders out here, out of the rubber band. They're all just rubber banded in. So they're just rubber banded onto the board here, and they pop out. So like this is rubber banded right here. So this whole folder in the book will pop out like this. So because it's only attached to the one. So it all kind of folds out like this, and we decorated the backs too. I didn't do all of them, but I was more into the ideas. Okay, so you can take a file folder. Let me show you one because now I've already gone and done it. Let me take out the inserts out of here, kind of, because I want to keep them in order. So let me take the rubber band off. So I'll show you what this is. Essentially, it is. I've got them taped on the sides. Ugh. Okay, I'll cut this open. Hang on. I've already closed the sides on this one, but I'll open it back up for you so you can see. All right, so what it is just one file folder. It's just a plain old Staples manila file folder. You open it up, fold up 1/3, and I fold down 1 inch just to make the lip and make it like decorative. And you can do, on many of these, I've painted, collage. Carrie Love and I must have made hundreds of these over those, when we were doing these, okay? And so then you just fold it like, you know, right where the fold is, and then fold here, fold there. And that's all it is. It's one file folder. But the idea is here is an idea pocket, and you can break it out into 4 different topics like we did here. Oh, in 2012. And then this all just folded up, and then it rubber banded on the front flap, rubber banded into a hardcover. This is just made with the game board, and it just goes over the, slip over the cover. And you see all the rubber bands here, and some of them are broke. Again, rubber bands will wear out. If you use rubber bands in your faux door, your travelers, whatever, I would recommend getting elastic cording. You know, elastic cording out of the jewelry department, the fabric department, and there's different widths and thicknesses and colors, because it won't wear out. Rubber bands will wear out. But I just wanted to show you that you don't even have to make a book. You could just make the file folders if that is something that will make you collect ideas. So again, here's some of the idea collecting folders that we did over a 2-year period. This was 2013, and then this is 2012. And then Packard Dye and I did these, I think, in 2013. Travel, patterns, thing. Anyway, they're all broken out into 12 topics that we did that year together. Okay, so back to this, and back to our list of types. So that's one of the types of ways you can do idea collecting. The file folders, Moles or Moleskines, or just your regular old journals like this. Let me grab a few. I have probably, let me see how many I got up here. I got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 25. I probably have at least 30 of these. 30 of these on a shelf, which are dust. Look how much dust is on. These are on the top shelf. These are on the top shelf of my journaling shelf. But anyway, there's different kinds of moles. There's the kind that are watercolor. There's the kind that flip open like reporters' notebooks. There's the kind that just open up normally. And these I do not use I mean, I might do a doodle or a sketch or something, and I really don't use Moleys anymore. But like I said, I probably got at least 30 of these up on the shelf. These are for writing, for ideas, like when I'm reading. When I'm reading and I want to collect, notes on what I'm reading, it goes in something like this. What called Flint? The file folders? Yeah, rubber band books are awesome. But again, if you really want, the rubber bands will break down. That's why I said I'd recommend getting elastic cording. You get it in the jewelry department. It's wrapped up on a card, and get different colors of cording, elastic cording. Use that instead of rubber bands if you want something that's not going to break down, and because rubber bands get the elastic starts to go, but you can get stuff like this cord, elastic for your journals and books. Yes, Pat, exactly. I'm addicted to collecting ideas too. Okay. All right, so let's go back to my list here. Let's try to finish the journal types anyway, or idea collecting types. It was called, what was it called? Idea, inspiration, file folder. Look in my playlist on YouTube. The one that Packer Dye and I did, I think, is in there. The other one was way before. Look under file folders in my YouTube playlist. There'll be something in there. It's not that first year. That won't be in there. But I might have shown it there. So, okay. So there's the file folders, and again, cards. Like I said, whether it's ATC size, Project Life size, index card size, whatever, some kind of card system to collect. And then that can go in a box. It can be your Rolodex. It can be, But here's the thing, guys. You want it to be something that's portable enough, but permanent enough. So this is portable and impermanent, but that's why I use 3-ring binders, because I can expand it ad infinitum, Okay, next. Color book binders. I wrote this down just because we all are doing so much color booking, and if at all possible, I like to take my color book pages out of the books. Again, I'll say I don't do all of them. If they're a theme, like I use Game of Thrones for the example. If it's a Game of Thrones color book where the whole story's in a color book, I don't tear those out. But like my Bennett Kleins, I take those out and I put them in a, hang on guys, I need a sip of coffee. I'll put those in a 3-ring binder. And then my oversized ones, y'all saw I got that big ledger, that faux ledger from Seven Gypsies. I slide all my oversized color book pages in that. File folder fodder. Thank you, Kimmy Pooh. File folder fodder. That's what it was. Yeah. Thanks. So again, and anything that you have that you want to call idea collecting. It doesn't matter what kind of book it's in as long as you're collecting. Color swatches. I showed you my little binder here. That's separate. Although unless you have tons of color information and color swatches, you probably don't need its own book. But maybe you've got millions of supplies you want to swatch and write all about and notate and talk about the properties of each one. Then a notebook is more for you because that's your interest. Not everybody's interested in every single property of a Copic marker, for instance. But maybe you are, and that's when you would want to do that. Another way I'll show you these. This is kind of like a composition book, but handmade. These books, these are, and I just have them bound, with the thing around them. These are my own version of kind of like a giant Midori. Okay, it doesn't have, these will fit in this file, this cover that you can get, you know, at Michael's in their planner. And if you don't want a planner and you just want the something in that cover, these are like my giant Midori, faux Dory, travelers type books. They are the 14 by 17, 14 by 17, 12 by 17, 12 by 4. Hang on, where's my ruler? They're the big copy paper. Okay, so the oversized copy paper. So if you like lots of real estate to write notes on, so that's 9. So that's 17 by 11 by 17. 11 by 17 copy paper, a ream of it. You can, you know, get the whole pack at Staples or whatever. 11 by 17, folded in half. They're just folded in half. Here's some of that cording, that elastic cording I was telling you about. And so there's nothing stapled or anything. It's just all attached. This is just scrapbook paper and a piece of cardstock. Okay, and it's got, I did put clear packing tape on the spine so that the elastic and the pressure and the use did not wear down the cardstock. So there is packing tape on the spine, but there's probably about, let me kind of guess here, maybe 1, 2, 5, 6, maybe 20 sheets of paper folded in half. And that's all it is copy paper folded in half with your elastic band, you know, scrapbook paper. You can use cardstock, whatever, make you a cover. And so it's just like a giant, and these can be removed. So let's just say you want some notes on this. You can just like pull that paper, pull it out, because it's not attached. They're just elastic banded in, right? So I have a stacks of those. So I have a whole bunch of these made up. So let's say you don't think a composition book is like cool enough, big enough, you don't like the lined paper, make your own with just copy paper, 11 by 17, folded in half, elastic band, and you can make your own notebooks, if you will. So there's that. Trying to put everything back as I go, because otherwise I have piles. All right, let me go back to my notes. Oh, this goes around there. Okay. All right. Are y'all still with the tour? Okay, let's see. What else did I write down here? I've already told you about a color book binder and color swatching, color combinations. We've done, well, I don't want to pull the book out again, but I've shown y'all how to do color combinations using, like, for example, design-seeds.com. And where's that paper I pulled out here? This is what we did the other day. We did a couple of these. I pulled these out of my Travelers. The swatching with Design Seeds color combination. You can use watercolor, your Neo colors. You can use Crayola crayons to get your color combinations. We're on the tour? Okay. Thanks, guys. All right. So using color combinations. Now, we have done some shows where we've taken these color combinations and drawn our own little designs and doodles. We have mind mapped out the colors, like what does this yellow look like to use? It look like mustard, sunshine, a chicken, a baby chick, Peeps candy, and we've written out different things that the colors could be, and then we've combined those things and made illustrations and funny little things. It's fun. We'll do that sometime again soon. But anyway, so your swatches, you could have a whole book, like I do, a notebook, of colors combinations and color swatches. But if you're not that into the color swatching and color combinations, then just when you get one idea, let's just say we do a show and we use these colors. Well, you may not want to do tons of design seed color combinations, but you're sitting here with us one day and we're doing this. You may want to do this today, but you may not want to do hundreds of them. Well, then you get your idea notebook out and just do that one thing. Okay? You loving this? Okay. Well, I know it's overwhelming, but I'm recording and, we'll just hope that the video records for us. Okay, so, because I don't want to have to repeat all this. Oh, Lordy. Okay, so, let me go back to my list. Okay, so there's the color swatches. Ledgers. Old ledgers, new ledgers, faux ledgers. Ledgers are a great way for, if you are a lister, I'm going to use my oversized ledger to write down all my color books and possibly all my art books in a ledger. And, now Michaels has those faux ledgers. I got the big oversized one. Right now I'm keeping my oversized color book. Let me grab it here. I'm keeping my oversized color book pages in this, faux, well, it's really a real ledger, but it's got like faux distressed pages. You can use the real if you have old ledgers. Again, guys, let me say again, like me and Lindsay were saying earlier, we both work out of like 10 different kinds of idea collecting things, but do not feel like you have to have 10 different kinds of books and ledgers and journals and molies. We're going to work out of a composition book. Okay, for our Society of Idea Collecting. But you can expand this in any direction you want, whether it's your Adorables, your Midoris, your Travelers, Ledgers, 3-ring binders, and all these different books that I'm talking about. Pick what works for you. But anyway, right now I'm just keeping my oversized color book pages in here. It's going to hit the camera. Hang on. So like these are too big to fit in a binder, so I'm just keeping them in here. But it's a ledger, so I'm going to probably eventually, when I have time, I want to list all my color books and art books in this. It's got 80 pages, so front and back, what is that, 106? Anyway, it's got plenty of room, at least for my color books and my art books. It wouldn't probably hold all my books, but some dads love to catalog all my books. I've tried it a couple times, and I get overwhelmed. Just, because when I catalog a book, I want it to be like the Dewey Decimal System. I want it to be by topic, author, and it's just a lot of time. But anyway, so just to have a ledger, kind of a list type book, something that you can do your lists in. Okay, so let's go back to this again. What else? The color swatch. You could have a book just on color swatches. Junk journals. If you don't want anything too neat or precise and that makes you uncomfortable, that's why I went with the composition book, because you can't really be too intimidated by a composition book, the blank page. But you can also use this if you're going to use it for your listing and your ideas, and you want to also put in, like I showed, like we did earlier, you have an idea about something and you're carrying it around, then just come and tape it in, washi tape it in, glue stick it in. If you want to do glue, if you want to make it a combination of glue book and junk journal, you could always just put your ticket stubs in this as well. You can make it your kind of scrapbook, junk journal, smash book combination. You can do it in a composition book. I already talked about our magazine journals. I showed you the small one a minute ago. This one, the small cut in half one. There's videos on it. Or you could go full out. You can go full out on multiple magazines glued together into a magazine journals. the problem with something like this is you're not going to carry this around. It's heavy, it's bulky, you know. I mean, I love my magazine journals, but they're more for playing in, like my playgrounds, rather than my idea collecting. That's just me. I'm more particular about how I collect my ideas, and if they're in too much of a junk journal, once I get tired of the junk in the book, I'm going to need to have those ideas organized in some form. Okay, so, but it's up to you. Any kind of scrapbook, smash book, that's another option. You can use these to throw in your daily stuff. I am not a planner girl, but if you're a planner girl, in your planners, you will have areas where you can collect your ideas. So if you're a planner girl, bullet journaler, lister's got a list girl, you already know how to collect ideas. But you need to know not just to list them, but to use them. And that's why the Society of Idea Collectors, so scrapbooks, binders, watercolor, there's, if you're into watercolor like Gina, she is doing journals on watercolor. So her ideas, her watercolor studies and ideas are all in little books that she's either bought and or making. So again, she's using those ideas she's collecting. And sometimes, guys, when you're learning a new medium like watercolor, or I also wrote down here calligraphy, we talked about symbology and glyphs or languages, you're going to need a chunk of book, something that's going to be dedicated to that, because there's going to be a lot of information. A composition book is not going to be good to, you can write and swatch and things like that, but you're not going to do watercolor painting studies in a composition book. You're going to want to do it in a watercolor paper book, right? With watercolor paper. So, we need to let her go. Yeah, and she has her prompt challenges with that. Exactly. So, you might have your prompts written down in here. Jean put them in the front of her little books. And this is just more ideas. It's more expanding about what works for you. So take any of this, and take all this stuff that we've talked about. Write it down in a composition book. Even if you just write down the ideas of ideas that we've talked about, will get you started, regardless of the book you work in. I just figured we'd pick a composition book to do this in. Again, me personally, it's all in big binders. But if I want you guys to start, collecting your ideas, it's got to be something very simple. So there's not much simpler than a composition book that you can get for 50 cents or $1, especially now during school supply. We're going to make our tabs, we'll scrape paint, we'll do all kinds of things like you've all probably done in other journals, in other composition books, like I did Fluffette, and that's been around in multiple, look it up, you'll find tons of things. But for me, right at this point in this project, in the Society Idea Collectors, it's not so much the decorating for me right now. And I mean, I'll do some tab decorating, showing you how to, make your little whatever. But that for me is not the important part. That's kind of like the motivation is the decorating, but the important part are your ideas, because you have ideas, you have creativity in your head that nobody else has. And don't say you don't, because if you say you don't, it's just not true. So you have ways of thinking of things and combining things and working things out that nobody else has. That's why we're all unique. And we all have we all have creativity, but we all channel it in different ways. But you got to write it down. No, not yet, Beth. No hashtag yet, because if we do Society Idea Collectors, it's sick. I don't want our hashtag to be sick. Maybe it could be, should be, I don't know. Anyway, so there's our first little meeting, our first little get together and meeting. I won't call it secret, but you know, our first little meeting of the Society of Idea Collectors. And I think that's enough right now. That's overwhelming. This should last you at least a week. What I would like y'all to do is take what we talked about today, a composition book or whatever. You do not feel like you have to use this. Use your Midori, use your Travelers, use a binder, use whatever appeals to you, whatever you know you will use. And write down some ideas. I was going to do take some markers here and just do our first page, just so you're not intimidated. I like to just, mess it up the first page so you're not feeling, oh no, I wrote something, this one doesn't even work. Let me get another orange. And anyway, so, just put a page in your book that questions. Remember, the main thing, this first page should be, you can put your name on it and put it on the second page if you want, but your first main page needs to be questions. I need one more color. Let's see. Let's get maybe purple or red. Red's probably good. Let's see. Do I have a red out? Here. No, it's orange. I have a red here. Let's see if this one's working. I use these all the time, so some of them are starting to run out a little. Remember that, to me, the most important part of your idea collecting, the thing that will make it move the quickest for you, nothing will make your ideas generate quicker than this. This is the most important thing. Whatever your topic is, doesn't matter what it is, your topic, your idea, whatever, in the middle. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. Everything goes through that filter right there. Everything. No matter what it is. Remember, we did the glitter sprinkles for our cupcake. That was right over here. Where's the glitters? Here. Glitter sprinkles. Is there such a thing? Where would I find them? Has it been invented? Who invented it? Where would I buy them? Is it online? What friends of mine would know? Who bakes? And just answering the questions, guys, while you're answering the questions, more questions will come. Write those more questions down. It's all about the questions. Question everything. This is where you will get your ideas. If you do this with every topic and idea you have and write it down, I know I keep saying that, you will have more ideas in one day than you'd probably ever use in a lifetime. So, there you go. There's our first meeting of the Society of Idea Collectors. And see, look, keep it, don't get over precious, make it messy. Who was it that did was big on composition books some years ago? Somebody will tell me her name. And she took and she smashed up every single page in the book. She fluffetted her book. Well, she didn't call it fluffet. I call it that. She fluffed up every single page in her composition book, but she was making art journaling. I want you guys, you can do it if you want. If you mess up your pages just for the sake of not being afraid to use it. But she would take all her pages and crunch them up, every single one, so that you're not intimidated by the book. But for me and us here on the Society Idea Collectors, we can make this pretty and use some washi tapes and some tabs and all that. But this is not to be a pretty This is not made to be a pretty art journal. Okay? That's not the purpose of this. You can do that if you want, but that's not my purpose in doing the Society Idea Collectors. The purpose for me is to collect the ideas. Okay? So I'm going to stop this recording, and hopefully, I know it was a lot of stuff, and I didn't even, like I said, I have, let me see how many pages I got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Have at least 8 pages of notes, and we got through 1.5 maybe. So, yeah. And, keep it, put a band around it, put a, big bull clip or something, keep everything in there. And, yeah, so we'll be right back. Well, I'll try to be right back with another recording, but, so thanks, guys. And any of the topics that we do can be expanded into more in-depth books, booklets, binders, whatever, depending on your interest. Not everybody is going to be as into one of the topics as others are. You know what I mean? Know what I mean, Vern? So some of you might be more interested in like quotes and if you collect quotes. That's just one mini topic, okay, that you can list and collect things, idea collect. And of course there's millions of quotes. So, let me gather how I want to continue here. So you might have a tab just for your quotes. You might have one for if you love words. I love words. So I have lots of collections on words, word definitions, etymology, a lot of things on words. And also, guys, I'm trying to read some chat too, so I'm kind of like half distracted on the chat. And and so you can have tabs and lists and ideas for any kind of projects developed off your ideas. You can have, okay, well, I do want to, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself, guys. I've got 5 things going at once. I'll save that for just a minute. You also want to make sure that you direct your collecting in the direction of your passions, so that you want to, if it's drawing, you want to kind of focus your list and ideas toward your goals, toward your loves, toward your passions. So if you have one thing that you really particularly want to develop or want more ideas on, or want to know more about, you want to focus any of the ideas that you collect, whether it's on colors, words, quotes, whatever, on those particular things, because you'll move faster along in your goals and your passions if you direct it toward those things. I don't know if that makes sense. Also, I'm looking at some of my notes here from my idea book. You also want to be aware, and this is a little tricky because we all like different things and collect different things and have different kind of supplies and passions, but you want to be aware of how you can use what you have, and if you buy more stuff or supplies, you want to know how you can use those to the fullest capacity. You don't want your stuff just to sit there, go, oh, I love my color pencils, but what do I do with them? I'm coloring in some coloring books. Now, I'm not talking to me, because I use my color pencils like literally every day. But if you have something sitting around, let me look around here and see something I'm not really using that much anymore. Okay, project life cards. I have hundreds of Project Life cards. I don't scrapbook any. Welcome everybody to Coffee and Art in the Morning. It's hump day. Oh, I forgot to get out mine. Hang on. Hang on. There it is. Here we go. I always forget. I try to remember. Mike. So anyway, before I hit record, we were talking about the Society of Idea Collectors, and so really and Jean is the one that came up with that name anyway. So really, all I would like for us to do is be able to collect our ideas. People do not write their ideas down. Write your ideas down, people. Write them down. So before I hit record, we were discussing different formats of how you keep your ideas. So for me, and I'll jump up and down here. For me, I'll write ideas down on Post-it notes, my little travelers, my adorables, and I'll show you all the different places I write down and keep ideas. This is the Mama Jamba. This is my 3-ring binder, and it's like 3 inches thick, and when it gets full, I either get a new notebook, like I did this time. This is a new one. Nothing's in it yet except my tabs and a few things, but nothing's written in it yet. So when this gets full, I'll either get a new notebook and just, put this one aside. I might go back through it and pull some certain and really important things that I'm working on out of it and transfer it to a new one when it gets full. Or I'll take everything out. If I really love the binder, I did this for like 2 segments. I'll take everything out of the binder and just rubber band the papers all together and store that on my shelf with my journals and ideas and all that. And I kind of know which ones, because when you work in it for so long, you kind of know what's in your books, right? So what I want everyone to do, or if they want to participate, is to collect their ideas. So we were talking before I hit record on the format of how you want to collect your ideas. This is awesome for collecting your ideas at home and or transferring your ideas into it. But it's not portable. I'm not going anywhere with this. I'm not taking this out of the house. So if you don't have something else to collect your ideas in, let me get some of these here. If you don't have something else to collect your ideas in that's more portable, you're not going to collect ideas. You're not going to, if you're at the store and you have an idea about something just pops in your head, or wherever you are, just, whatever, the bookstore, you see a book that sparks something. If you don't have something to write it down right then, or at least take a picture with your phone or something, you're not going to remember that. You're not going to retain that information. You have thousands of ideas every day, but you just probably don't realize it because you're not used to bringing those ideas to the forefront of your brain and really acknowledging them, thinking about them, concentrating on them. So if you don't bring those ideas to paper, you will lose them. I mean, I can guarantee you 100% you will lose all those ideas. Now, you might remember one that's really, I got to read that book and get this idea, and I have this idea for this, whatever. Based on that book I saw, you might remember that one thing. But while you are thinking of that one idea, 10, 20, 30 other ideas associated with your big thought will come to you, and you'll say, I got to remember that. I'm going to write that down, and you will not remember it. And pretty much everybody that has written books on ideas, listing, note-taking, doodle note-taking, however you take notes, whether it's in business or just, for your own creative purposes or your own entrepreneurship or whatever, will tell you You have to write your ideas down. Okay? So I've already shown most of these at some time or another. These are my Adorables. They're like faux Midoris. Sister Woman Jonna made these for me, and I have this is the one that I use the most. You can see I've got paperclip tabs, which we'll get to that later. I have the little buttons that I got the other day. I just stuck some of these on here just to make it decorative. Charms. You can have tabs or tags. So what we were discussing was the format that you will like and enjoy and work in. I like all of them, and I will use all these different idea notebooks and journals, whether it's a Moleskine or whatever, and I will write ideas in them, even the tiny little notebooks, the little composition books. Hang on. Let me grab, where did I put it? Up here. Let me grab one here. The little composition books, like this size, or even just a stack of Post-its. Whatever you write your ideas on, you just have to do it. You have to write your ideas down. So we were discussing what kind of format would be, everybody would probably enjoy, like working in kind of together. And I think that you can do any of this. You can write it in whatever you want, whether it's something like this, whether it's a big binder, whether it's your 3-ring binder, whatever it is, it's fine. So, just know that you don't have to do anything we are doing necessarily, but we're going to work in composition books. So, and then anything that you do in this, and again, if you'd rather work in a Travelers or just a bind, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Here's my thinking on a composition book. For one, it's inexpensive. I got a stack of them for 50 cents at Walmart on the school supply. Target, Staples, whatever. You can get them for under $1, right? So that's one of the things about a composition book. The other thing is it's not intimidating. You're not going to feel like, oh my God, I messed up a page. You're not going to be intimidated by a composition book. The other thing I want to say is there's millions. Look on YouTube and this will give you some more ideas, and you can write more. Yeah, I do the occasional frame thing, But I have a lot of things like Project Life cards. Let me hang. Here's some that I just cut, and these are not, when I say Project Life cards, it doesn't have to be the official trademark. I don't mean like Project Life cards. I'm talking about the 3x4 cards that you can get even in your scrapbook pads. You have them in your big 12x12 pads. These are some that I just, if Eileen's here, forgive me, Eileen, there's some flamingos on here. But these were out of that pad that I just got, the $5 bonus, what do they call them? Not bonus buy. Anyway, they're $5. And you get the big, scrapbook pads. And then they have the cut-aparts, which are like the 3x4 cards. Okay, so I have all these little cards here that are lined. And they're awesome to write things on. But if I don't use them, what good is it, right? So here's another, you can write this down. You can use things like this to write notes on. Even if you take this little stack with you in your purse or your bag or your pocket, if you have something like this with you, write your notes on it, or, I have my Post-it notes, whatever. This just makes it more fun and decorative. Here's the advantage of doing it on something like this. Okay, go reboot, Valerie. I'm recording, Valerie. If you have something like these with you and you can write your ideas down, whether you're at a bookstore, store, whatever, even if you're just at the craft store and you think, oh my gosh, I have such a good idea for XYZ supply, but I won't get to it anytime soon. Write it down. Then when you get home, you can take this card and attach it to that page of new ideas or whatever you tab that particular thing. I have a goal to make this, or this is new ideas, or whatever you want to call your, particular thing, whether it's color combinations. Maybe you're at the paint store and you see, oh my gosh, I love those 3 colors. I'm going to pick up the paint chips in those 3 colors, and bam, you put it in your color idea section. Okay, so the advantage of having something like some little cards, even if it's index cards, cut some index cards. You don't even have to cut them. Use the little, what are they, 3 by, I don't know, what size, let me, hang on. Trust me, I got some index cards. If you have your index cards, let's see what size, because I can't remember what size index cards are here. Index cards, which this will even make it more personal for you. Index cards are 3 by 5. So they're 3 by 5. Your little standard Project Life cards are 3 by 4. So whether you use index cards, these you can get 50 cents for 1,000 of them. Not literally, but I mean, you know what I mean. You can get a pack of them for nothing. And then you can decorate them yourself, too. And write them down in your book. Ideas on using a composition book for either journaling, art journaling, doodling, note-taking, decorating. I know I've shown y'all Fluffette before. Let me just pull Fluffette down for a minute. I used this is one composition book. No pages are glued together. This started out to be an address book 6-7 years ago of all our friends in the box. People, our friends online in Ustream. That's what this started out about. Snick name. I like that, Jean. Snick name. Wait a minute. I gotta write that down. I don't know if you meant to say that, Jean, but I love that. Nickname. Okay, so we were just talking about nicknames for the Society of Idea Collectors. So So anyway, here is a composition book that's full. I think there's like 100. Yeah, there is. There's 100 sheets in a book. So this one is filled, and I started a secondary one back when, because this one got full. But just so you can see how much you can get, you can get in a composition book. And again, I'm not the inventor of using composition books for purposes like this. However, I did, use mine. I started it out as an address book, but then I started just decorating them. I just started decorating the double page spreads based on the favorite colors and things of the friends. I also would put pockets. I put pockets on them. So there's lots of things we can do to collect ideas and make it decorative and fun. Sickos. These girls, if you're watching this recording, oh my gosh, these girls are hilarious. So it's a live chat, by the way, on Ustream. Okay, so I'm missing a lot of y'all's comments while I'm trying to do the explaining. So keep all your ideas, write them down so I don't miss any of them while I'm trying to explain kind of the Society of Idea Collectors where we're going. Okay, so in my big notebook, 3-ring binder, I have it divided out by many different topics. The one being color. Okay, color ideas. Let me just tell you a few. I'm not going to tell you all of them because We'll drag this out for a long time with ideas, but anyway, some of the this is the wrong one here. Hang on. I could probably just do it off of this. Okay, I think I'll just do it off of this list. So some of the different topics that we can idea collect about. One being colors, color combinations, how to use color names, color swatches, all things color. Now, I do have a specific notebook just for colors because I have so much information on that. So I have a mini notebook on colors. That being said,